variants.
Tell me, see if you agree with it.
No. Don't throw the question back at me. I'm asking you, Mansur,
What I understand,
what is the
understand
definition?
is, say if you have a text, the word is different, that's a variant.
Be more clinical in your definition of a textual variant.
I just told you. So if you have a text is
If you don't know, it's
made
fine
of-
to say you don't
I'm
know.
just telling you, if a text is made of letters and words that makes up a sentence or a chapter or a book, whatever that might be, you can have variants within a letter level, within a word level, within a sentence level, within a paragraph level, within a whole book level.
Yeah.
You can have variances in all these types.
And would you agree that a variance is any difference between two texts? Yes. So agree that that's the definition of textual
No
variance.
problem with that.
Do you believe that there are textual variants in manuscripts of the Quran?
Yeah, there are available. Yeah.
So there are textual variants amongst different Qurans. Are we
When you
agree?
say different Qurans explain.
Well, the moment
Now you're using suddenly a loaded language.
No. A textual variant makes a manuscript different from one to another. If I print a word of text, a letter that I write to you, and then you give me the same letter back, but you change one word.
That's a variant.
We have two pages, but they have variants, so they're two different texts.
No, same text with textual variants.
Fair enough. So we've got a variance
consistent.
between the manuscripts, haven't we? We got
Let's-
two manuscripts
let's talk about
with
text.
a difference
If
between
a manuscript is about the Quran, we're talking about it's the same Quran with textual variants.
And do you agree that there are textual variants within the manuscripts of the Quran?
They exist, yes.
They exist. Do those variants, at what level do you think they exist? At the letter level, at the word level, at the paragraph or sentence
So
level?
let's understand what a variant is.
Wait, we've just done that.
No.
No, we defined variant before we continued.
We haven't defined it. We have just given a working definition because there's a difference between non-Islamic tradition of what a textual variant is and an Islamic tradition. Because we can have a variant which is equally authoritative and accepted as being Quranic text.
Fair enough.
To give an example, let me give you an example
Okay,
to illustrate my point.
okay.
So if you have a word called Malik and Malik,
Yes, between the hafs and the wash text.
they mean two different things.
Between the hafs and the wash, you're using an example.
Not just hafs and the wash,
Yeah.
the other readings. So you have these two different words. They may be written the same in the Uthmanic consonantal skeleton, but the two different words. But because these words all come from our traditions of reading all the way back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we say they are equally authoritative, representative of the Quranic text. So they are from the Quran with different readings.
Okay.
So one could be readings of Hafs from Asim, and other one could be readings of Warsh from Nafi. for
Okay,
example.
so we've established that there are textual variants within the Quran. Now, using the example that you've just given, if I'm right, the word that you used has a slightly different meaning, doesn't it? The
I
two
just
words-
told you they are different.
Yeah, they're different meanings. So what we have, in essence, is a variance of meaning at the word level. Yeah. Is there anything deeper than that? Are there any variances of phrases, sentences?
You tell me.
I'm asking.
Now I want you to tell me.
No, why I ask you a question and you throw it back at me? I'm asking you the question. Don't avoid the question, answer the question. If you
tell
don't
me.
know, that's fine.
It's not about I don't know, or do you know?
No. I'm genuinely inquiring. Genuinely
inquiring.
Yeah, genuinely
Okay.
inquiring.
So you
That
can
does
have
happen at
you
Speaker's
can
Corner,
have
you know.
you can have Quranic manuscripts which has totally different phrase.
Yeah.
But if they do not fit within the accepted readings that have been transmitted to us in this authentic chains of transmission, we would say these are not part of the Quranic text.
Fair enough.
These are shawad or shad readings.
Fair enough. So what we've established from talking to you, Mansur, is that all of these Muslims that for years and years and years have been telling everyone in the world that the Qurans are identical across the world, they're wrong. The Quran has not been changed, not one letter, not one word, not one dot, not one tittle. All of these Muslims that have been saying that, you've just said that they're all wrong because you've just identified that there are differences between different Qurans at the word level. And you gave an example on video.
So you misunderstood.
No. You gave this
Let me
example.
explain to you. So
I'm not deaf and I'm not stupid. This was the example you gave.
I didn't say you're deaf and I didn't say you're stupid. So you are self-inflicting those titles within yourself.
Cut to the chase.
No. First of all, do not somehow insult me by saying that I called you deaf and I called you someone who's stupid. I didn't. I only said you have misunderstood. Misunderstanding can come from even if you're a professor and having 3 PhDs, you can still misunderstand. Just because a professor with 3 PhDs misunderstands, I'm not going to call him deaf or stupid. So you need to speak to me in a way that is polite and acceptable. So do not use language which is really vulgar in the way.
I've not insulted you.
You
I
have.
spoke about myself.
You just have.
Please continue.
Sure. So as I said, I haven't said that you are not any of those. I said you misunderstood. So let me explain. The reading of Hafs. Now I stand here and I will tell you the reading of Hafs that he learned from his teacher Asim, that he's learned from his teacher Sulami, that he's learned from his teacher and all the way back to the companions of Abdullah bin Mas'ud, Ubay bin Ka'ab, Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu ajma'in, all and back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This reading has not been changed to the letter, to the dot, to the word level, to the sentence level, and so on and so forth. So when the Muslims claim that, they do claim it exactly. So if we now examine the reading of Hafs, go around anywhere in the world, whether in the Indian subcontinent area or in the East, in Philippines or Indonesia, or go to Africa and Morocco, get the reading of Hafs and trace the transmission of the reading of Hafs. And now you tell me, where has the change that has occurred in the reading of Hafs?
So there's 2 points that I would take from that. Firstly, you've narrowed your defense of the Quran solely to one reading, and by implication that seems to be that you've abandoned the other readings as being pure texts, which implies therefore that readings such as Wash are a corruption of the Hafs text. The second point that I gained from what you've said is that you're saying to me that there has been no variations at any time in history to the Hafs traditional manuscript. So the tradition of the manuscript evidence connected to the Hafs reading has remained pure. Now, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
So all the 2 points that you made needs a slight correction. Why? Because you again misunderstand, whether willingly and deliberately, which I don't know, which I would not assume. I would assume genuinely you misunderstand. I am not implying in any way, shape or form that the other reading, Warsh or Susi or Duri or any other readings are by implication corruption, which you misunderstand somehow. I am saying when Muslims claim of the transmission of the Quran and Quranic readings and they haven't changed, you can break them down to the readings that they are talking about. So I gave you an example of one reading called Hafs from his teacher Asim. You can do this likewise to Warsh and all the other 10 mutawatir readings. And the claim would still be that yes, this reading has been transmitted likewise in this meticulous nature of preservation. This is how they're preserved. So I gave an example of a Hafs reading because I can talk about it because I've looked into it. If you want to talk about it, we can go as much detail as you want in the Hafs reading. So because you seem to know something about it already in your, the vocabulary that you're using, I would expect you to continue talking about the Hafs reading and point to me the differences that you so think exist. If you want to talk about the other readings individually, we can talk about them as well. But as I said, I am only limited to in the readings that I examined. Like the brother said, he cannot talk because he's not proficient or knowledgeable on the subject. Secondly, the other point. What was the point that he mentioned? Second point?
Well, manuscripts from the 1st century.
Manuscripts. Now, Hafs reading, you are again conflating. The reading reading, can we find traces within the manuscripts? No. The reading is
Did you say no? I am
explaining.
No, I want to interject just to clarify something. Are you saying that the security of the Hafs reading is not in the text?
I am saying this reading is transmitted from teacher to student, teachers to student, and goes like this through memorization. So,
to be clear, Mansur, to be clear, I really want to be clear on this. Are you saying that the security, that you believe it, the reliability, the purity of the reading is not secured in the text? That it is secured purely by oral recitation?
Okay, so I'm not sure why you're using the word security and reliability.
Whichever vocabulary you feel more comfortable with.
I am saying the transmission of the Quran is by this. So you memorize the Quran and you tell the whole of the Quran or repeat the whole of the Quran back to your teacher. Your teacher is satisfied and the teacher gives you the ijazah or permission or a certificate that you continue this teaching. This can be independent of a text because you can be a blind person and you can still have an ijazah without even reading anything. Braille is a recent concept, recent tool that people use in a written form. But the Quran has been transmitted even through perhaps blind people. It doesn't have to be through a text. So when we're talking about the transmission of the Quran, the primary mode of transmission and preservation is the memorization way, the oral form, the recited form.
Okay.
So in this way, let me finish my point.
I think I gathered your point. And you spoke for quite a while.
It's not about speaking for quite a while. I need to make my point.
I think you've spoken for quite a while.
So you understood what I said?
I believe so, yes.
Good.
You're saying that the recitation is an oral transmission from one reciter, I think they're called muhafs, or what's the Arabic term for someone who memorizes the Quran? Is it hafiz? Hafiz. So it's from one hafiz who teaches a student to become another hafiz, and so on and so forth down through the generation. And that's the security of the text, it's the security of the recitation. The reason why I have a problem with this, Mansur, is because if that was the primary reason by which the Quran was secured in its transmission from one generation to the next, the actions of Uthman in the first centuries of Islam and of the companions, the Sahaba, seem to indicate to me that they did not have confidence in the oral transmission as being secure. Because when the Muslims were in dispute about how best to recite the Quran, their solution to the problem was not to form some school where one memorizer taught lots of other people to memorize and so on and so forth. Their response to securing the continuity of the Quran and to make sure Muslims did not disagree amongst themselves was to create an edited text, a formal version, an authorized version backed by the Islamic State. That tells me that actually the early Muslim community did not share your confidence. The early Muslim community thought it necessary to secure the recitation of the Quran in manuscripts. And if that's the case, which I believe the evidence points to fairly, when we read the hadith, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih al-Muslim, what that seems to point to me is that we need to look at the text of the Quran, because it's the text of the Quran that helps people to learn the recitation. I suspect that every Muslim here, when they are reciting the Quran, they're not just hearing it and repeating it. They may be hearing it and reading it and repeating it, and that's the process of memorization. And if that is true, then that means the text is integral to the security of the recitation. And if that is true, we need to analyze the manuscript evidence to see if the manuscripts are consistent, to see if the Quran has or has not been subject to change. Would you agree that that's a fair and logical conclusion from the evidence?
Let's have a look. When you have the dispute in Azerbaijan, when the Muslims were disputing in their recitations, what was the nature of the dispute?
About the recitation, how to recite.
What was the nature of the dispute?
I don't know exactly. The hadiths don't seem to say. No, hold on one second. The hadiths do not say precisely what the dispute was about, only that they disputed about how the Quran should be recited. That was the dispute. That's what I see in the hadiths. Anything you say further to that, you'll have to give evidence for.
So you made an assertion, all of this logical deduction based on something that the actual core issue that was in dispute, you don't even know. What were the Muslims saying to each other?
Where are you getting your sources?
From the same source.
Sahih al-Bukhari, right?
What does it say?
It doesn't say exactly what they were disputing.
What does it say?
It says they were disputing the recitation. They were disputing about how the Quran should be said. Well, then you tell me, please.
No.
Can we pull it up? Can we pull it up? I don't know if you've got it on you.
You made a claim, pull it up.
Mansur, you're here every week.
And excuse
You're
me.
here every week.
Listen.
Where
You made
is
a
your
claim.
evidence?
You made a claim. I'm saying no. So you need to now prove that this is what the text in the hadith say. You just made a claim. This is what it says, and based on that,
Yeah,
excuse me.
I agree. It's a double standard. I have to prove my point. He doesn't have to prove his. It's a double standard.
No, I didn't say I don't have to prove my point. I'm saying you made a claim.
And if I am wrong, prove me wrong.
You substantiate your claim.
If I am wrong, prove me wrong. I've made a claim. Now give me the counter proof.
You made a claim. Prove it from the evidence.
Okay, so I haven't got it on me. I don't mind admitting that. I'm here as a tourist. You're here as a missionary. So let's be clear.
Oh, you're not
I'm here as a
missionary.
tourist. You're here as a missionary. You're here as a missionary. Okay?
You're the missionary.
Mansur, you're on this television. You're on YouTube all the time being here. I'm here as a tourist. You're the one here every week. You're saying that my claim is wrong. I'm asking you to prove me wrong. So give me your evidence. Don't create a double standard where I have to prove all my points and you don't have to prove any of yours.
Talking about double standards, look at the excuses that we hear. It's astonishing. One second, let me finish. Astonishing. You come along here making a big thing out of some issue which you haven't got a real grasp of. So you made into, the reason why it happened. You're actually reading.
Mansur, just admit you don't have the evidence.
Let me finish. Look at the way they work.
The way they work. Oh my gosh. Have you listened to this man?
Yeah. Look at
Listen
the
to the
way
man.
tourists.
Look at the way they work.
Excuse me. Let me
Who are
finish.
you talking to?
Let me finish.
Dude, I'm right here in front of
No,
you.
as
It's not they work. I'm right here. Speak to me.
As a tourist,
Speak to me.
the way you
They work. Who are you talking about? Who are they?
What's your name?
No, who are they, Mansur?
You.
They. So I'm a plural now.
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm a plural.
What's your name?
Do you understand plurality and singularity? I'm sure you do. You talk about it all the time.
Yeah. What's your
so
name?
who are they
I'll
you're
tell you,
talking
I'll
about? Your subtle attempt at demonization just now.
Excuse me, what's your name?
I'm sure it's okay.
What's
He
your
will
name?
edit it out of his video.
Here
He
and
will.
here.
He will edit it out of his
Thank
video.
you.
You're included now because you
Yes.
dared to speak.
Excuse me.
You dared to speak.
Relax.
He'll edit it out of his video.
Was
Don't
she not
worry.
clapping-
Anything that embarrasses him
when you made
goes
that
out of
voice?
his video. Goes
So
out of
now
his video.
they.
Anything. They.
Excuse me,
Oh,
listen.
now it's a they. Me and the sister have never even met.
Do you see that? Oh, it's going to be edited out. Look at this filthy.
Oh, look at the demonization again. Look, Mansur, just admit you don't have the evidence.
Excuse me.
Just admit you don't have the evidence.
Wait a second.
He's been talking now for 5 minutes.
Okay.
I asked him
Another
to prove
strategy.
me wrong with the evidence,
Okay, now.
and he's not giving me any evidence.
Okay.
You know what that's called? That's
What's
called
that?
waffling.
Okay.
It's called waffling around the subject.
The one you're doing
you do
that.
it in interviews all the time. When you don't know the answer, you just talk and talk and hope that they forget the question.
What's
So,
your name?
what's the evidence, please?
I'm going to give. What's your name?
What's the evidence,
I am
please? You
about
don't
to.
need to know my name. What's the evidence,
do need to
please?
know my name.
No, you don't need to
I
know
need
my
to know
name.
your name. I
No,
do.
you don't.
His name is Bob.
Yeah, call Bob. Bob. My name's Bob. Yeah. Bob the Builder. That's it. My name's Bob the Builder, everybody. Pleased to meet
One
you.
second.
I can fix it, I promise.
What's your name?
Yeah. So, go on. Where's your evidence, please?
I am about to give it to you.
I am waiting.
What is your name?
Yeah, my name's irrelevant.
Irrelevant. I call him irrelevant.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay. Now, Irrelevant made a claim that, the text is integrity to the security of the readings. This is just one sentence summary. And the way he arrived at this conclusion is by looking at reading Sahih Bukhari, and Sahih Bukhari apparently says Muslims didn't know how to recite the text.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
That's not what I said. You see,
What did you
Mansur,
say?
if you're
Correct.
going to summarize my argument,
Yeah, tell me what you
it
said.
is an onus upon you to do it accurately.
Yeah, what did you say?
I was responding to your claim that the recitation of the Quran was secured in an oral tradition. And the way that I responded to that was to point out that in the 1st century of Islam, the early Muslims didn't seem to share your confidence. Because in the 1st century of Islam, when the Muslims in Azerbaijan, who were about to invade Christian Armenia, disputed amongst themselves the recitation, the response of the Islamic establishment, the Caliphate, was not to create a school where one oral teacher would teach lots of students to memorize the Quran orally, but to create a text. And if that was their response to the danger of disputes amongst the Muslims about the recitation of the Quran, that suggests to me, quite logically, that actually the security of the text is not just in an oral tradition, but also in the manuscript evidence. And I furthered that by pointing out that all of you who are reciting the Quran, whether you can understand it or not, and I suspect a large proportion of you can't, that the vast majority of you are not just hearing it and repeating it, but you're hearing it, reading it, and repeating it, which means that the text is an essential part of the means of transmission. That was my argument.
Okay, so now as you realize, it's very quite clear what he means. So I asked, what was the nature of the dispute between the Muslims in Azerbaijan? What was the nature of the dispute? What were they saying to each other?
And I've already said that the